My story begins at just 9 years old. I was raised in a pastor's home, Pentecostal church, Pentecostal dad, and had been raised around the idea of the baptism of the Spirit, the idea of speaking in tongues, a heavenly language. So I was comfortable with that from a very early age, as early as I can remember. It was never odd or awkward for me. And I remember at 9 years old, an evangelist came to town, and we had a revival at our church. We might have had 80 to 100 people. A part of that church wasn't a big church. And he was sharing in those opening nights about the Holy Spirit, and he gave a few calls throughout the week for the Holy Spirit, and I'd been listening. Even as a 9-year-old boy, I was paying attention to the evangelist that week. And I remember my parents even talking to me as those services went on. Is this something you're interested in? And it was. I determined in my heart that I wanted it. And so just a few nights into that revival, the evangelist spoke on just the baptism of the Spirit. And he gave the call that night. He'd given the call previous nights, but it was always with something else. So this night was just about seeking the filling of the Spirit. So I decided to go forward. So I waddled forward with my 9-year-old self, and I remember standing there with 8, 9, maybe 10 other people who were seeking the Spirit. We all stood around the altar, and we started to pray. I think I lifted my hands something like this as a 9-year-old boy, and I was definitely praying quietly and then also listening to what was happening around me. And I heard a lot of people come by and pray over me. I heard them speaking in tongues, using their heavenly language gift as they prayed for me, and I was seeing others get it on down the line. I think I was the only kid in the line. Everyone else were adults, and they were having these amazing experiences that was just a joyful release, and everyone would celebrate. And while I was praying and watching all of this take place, I started to hear just these little words rolling through my head. Just 3 little words that I'd never heard before. I didn't know where they were coming from, and they were just running through my head over and over and over again. And I was trying to process as much as a 9-year-old can process what I was hearing. And as I started to hear that, it almost seemed like everything else around me started to fade away. I don't have a lot of memories before the age of about 10, but what happened in those moments is very, very clear to me. As I heard those words rolling and tried to wonder, is this what I'm praying for? And I don't like to make a scene. I know some have a hard time believing that. I don't love being the center of attention. So I actually waited till I thought everyone was away from me. After we'd been praying for several minutes, I don't know how long, and I'd seen many others get this in a joyful jubilation sort of way. And while everyone else was gone, I just whispered those 3 words that I heard in my head. And that was the end of it. I prayed for a little while longer. No one else really came to contact me or pray for me. The altar service died down, and I kind of walked away wondering, what happened? I saw these other people getting it, and I just whispered these 3 words, and I thought no one had heard me. But later that night, after church service was over and we settled into the living room, and I had thought no one was listening to me when I had spoken what I had heard, but apparently my dad had been paying pretty close attention, because he brought it up and said, "Darren, I know you were seeking for the Spirit tonight. You spoke, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I did." And I was glad he asked me that, because I had been wondering, because I saw what happened to everybody else, but I had just shared this 3 little word whisper. And he confirmed, "Yeah, you got it." No one had coached me. No one had walked me through it. It was just God prompting my 9-year-old spirit, my 9-year-old mind. And I said, okay, and shared what I heard. And I've never had to have a different experience. I've looked back as I've even thought about what I'd share in telling this story. This is the first time I've ever told it. And realized I don't remember the next time I spoke in tongues. But I know I have had this gift my whole life now. And so yeah, that was the moment that I got it. And I'm so thankful for this gift. It has been with me, and the Spirit has been near me and has spoken through me and has prayed through me. And so I would encourage any young person, there is no age limit on the gifts of God in your life. If you want it, seek it, and He just might give it.